I don't care what anybody says. Sweeping is therapeutic as fuck. Okay? Okay. Hi. So, in light of my last out-service meeting that I had with the guides, with my fellow guides at my wilderness recovery job, I'm not saying the name of the business that I worked for, just because I think that's a good idea to not say the name. But anyways, in light of a recent my last outgoing meeting that I had with them, I wanted to make this video. I wanted to make a video or some kind of content that just consists of me expressing my gratitude and my love for the job that I had. And specifically the people, at this meeting we actually fucking everybody went around in a circle and said something that they appreciated about me before I left, and got to speak their truth a little bit. And because I was about to start bawling, I couldn't speak mine, or I felt like I couldn't. I felt like it would be better to wait for another time. So that other time is right now in this little video. I typed up over the past 3 or 4 days. I've revisited a little voice or a little notepad thing here, where I basically typed a script, which is interesting to conceptualize about, because on one hand, a script feels a little bit unauthentic. It feels a little bit I just read this stuff aloud, and it doesn't really have any meaning behind it. But on the other hand, I took over 2 hours to craft this, and 2 hours over the course of 2 or 3 days, like I mentioned. And I took that time because I wanted it to be fucking spot on. I wanted it to be perfect. That's not good. Well, that's not good. I just have a perfectionistic. I oftentimes fall victim to my own perfectionistic habits. So that's kind of a side story. But anyways, point being is, I fucking wrote into this notepad. So I took time to write into this notepad how I truly felt, and it really actually helped me organize how I truly feel, and it really helped me organize how I some of my greatest lessons that came from working as a wilderness recovery guide. So what I'm going to be doing here is expressing all that and reading it. So here's my letter to everybody that I just worked with, clients and staff as well. So here's the letter. Sometime within the year of 2021, I started to notice a restlessness within myself. I was 21 years old, in a long-term relationship with someone who I genuinely thought that I was going to marry one day. However, I was starting to notice that I had feelings of guilt and confusion arise around some new thoughts that were coming up. These thoughts often involved, I've never really gotten out into this world, and I was wanting to explore more people and places, and specifically with people, I honestly wanted to explore more romance. At this point in time, I'd only had 2 romantic partners, and I just kind of felt like I didn't want to limit myself to that. I just kind of felt like there's more. I had this fucking tug at my intuition, dude. Anyways, but at the time, these 2 thoughts of, oh, I want to marry this person, and, oh, I want to explore more people, those don't really, connect, Those don't really line up. And so that led me to feeling like stuck and really scared because on one hand, like I kind of had a choice. I was like, I can either let go of this person that I loved, but on the other hand, if I let her go, then is anybody else afterwards gonna love me again? That's a bit that yeah. That's where I was at the time, mentally. Getting back to the letter here, lucky for me, she actually ended up dumping me like a sack of potatoes in May of 2022, soon after she slept with my best friend. Great. That was perfect. Um, so now at this point in my life, I don't have the only two people in my life at that time that gave me, or that I thought that I associated with a sense of belonging, and that I associated with a sense of I'm accepted, really. And so I had I had like a total fucking ego death, right? Like I lost these two people cold turkey to stop talking to them. And my fucking like entire, like it really, really, really shook my snow globe, you know? But in retrospect, of course, this is exactly what Opie needed. Because at this point, because of that moment, because of this snow globe shaking, I was free. God damn. Okay, so fast forward a few months to September of 2022, and me, yeah boy, was shopping for a van to turn into a camper van. It didn't end up being this van. Anyways, I was shopping for a van to turn into a camper van with the intention to live from it and travel the country. In scrolling Facebook Marketplace, I came across a van in Colorado that I knew I wasn't gonna actually buy because the miles were like really high, and it was just not. It wasn't the vibe. But I still wanted to call the seller anyways and pick her brain about her experience having lived from the van. She was also a van lifer like me, or she was in the van life at a point in time when I was not in the van life yet. So I wanted to like check in with her and like see how that went. She agreed to talk on the phone, and after talking for about 5 minutes about the van itself, she mentioned that she works as a wilderness counselor of some sort. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And over the next 55 minutes over the phone, she told me all about her job working at Blue Fire Wilderness in the state of Idaho. She talked about how transformative that job had been for her, and I was quickly feeling like I was sold. Like I was quickly feeling like, oh yeah, like I have to do that at some point because what the fuck? Like I had no clue that a therapeutic program intentionally brought together wilderness and therapy. You know, like what? Like what? What? So instantly I put it on the back burner in my mind, and I was like, Opie has to do that one day. Like I just have to fucking try that. It seemed like something that could be incredibly challenging and also incredibly transformative, and that was a turn on for sure. Fast forward to September of 2023, I found myself driving up a fucking mountain in North Carolina to my first ever shift as a wilderness recovery guide at a wilderness recovery center. So that was pretty wicked. That was actually pretty much like a spot on, like a year after I had this conversation with the chick on the phone, which is kind of trippy. At this point in my life, okay, like stepping back a little bit more now. At this point in my life, it had been a couple years since I started asking myself and struggling to answer the question of where do I belong? And with this in mind, with this question in mind, I worked as a wilderness recovery guide as I belly laughed, I ugly cried through my first couple of months, and I was noticing like, oh my God, I'm working around an entire community of people, especially the clients, in which I had hardly ever been exposed to before, which is drug addicts, right? Or which is drug addicts. I don't know how to fucking say that. Drug addicts? I say drug addicts. I was working around. Point being is I was working around these people that I had very little exposure to, right? Like I was really sheltered when I was younger. So I was noticing like all these eye-opening moments of like, holy fuck, these dudes have some wicked gnarly lives. and wicked gnarly backstories. Along with that, I noticed that I'm in space with psychosis, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and oftentimes complete emotional dysregulation, like all the time when I'm at work, which is fucking crazy for this previous version of me to think about. So I'm getting way off the script here. Holy fuck. Little did I know that in just a few more months, I would come to a huge realization that those same drug addicts, were the ones teaching me what it really meant to belong. I started to settle into the job. I started to recognize with some surprise, wow, I actually feel incredibly safe to be myself here and to like be me and just be like me, you know? And yet I'm still around people that I was at one point often very hesitant to associate with. People who tell stories of armed robberies and going to court for crimes and being in psychosis, right? Like at this point, months into the job, I started to notice a lot of my own judgment just like dissolving and like melting away. And that also started to feel more free, you know? And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how am I tapping into a feeling of like lack of judgment? How am I tapping into a feeling of belonging and acceptance in a community of people that I'm not, that I used to not be down with, that I used to have all these judgments and like preconceived notions about? So I continued to see clients and staff from all over the country with widely varying life stories come together and form a community that laughs so fucking much and often strives to hold each other to the best of their abilities. Like I just was like immersed in this scene, in this community of people who were like from all these different backgrounds and shit, and fucking A, they still, like, everybody got along and everybody was like in beautiful relation with each other. At least it seems that way. And it definitely felt that way for me. So this like previous version of myself that I realized now I was shedding at the time was just like, how the fuck is this happening? Like, how is this possible that we're all like in community together? One of these preconceived notions that I was shedding at the time was that I thought I had to be around like-minded people in order to feel a sense of belonging. That was crumbling, that was dissolving at this time. And the more and more my shifts went on, the more and more books that I read, the more conversations I had, the more reflection I did, and the more I pursued challenge, right? Like, I did this over and over and over again throughout all the on and off shifts that I had working as a wilderness recovery guide. And it wasn't until this past week, which was my last shift, that I've now finally, like, I think fully come to understand my conclusion. You know, like what I was learning there. And it's, oh fuck, I have belonged anywhere that I've ever been and ever will be. Because now I understand that a feeling of belonging isn't inspired by the people around me accepting me, but instead a feeling of belonging is inspired by me. A feeling of belonging is inspired by me radically accepting me and radically accepting those around me. And a prerequisite to belonging is a brave willingness to be who you really fucking are, no matter who the hell is watching. So that's just a little something that being a wilderness recovery guide taught me. As it sits right now, I feel an incredible sense of like gratitude for all the clients and like staff, everybody that I've worked with, and that chick who I talked with on the phone about her van life. She planted the seed, bro. She planted the seed, and my own willingness to lean into that, and everybody around me at the place I worked at, everybody did their job of just like watering that seed and fertilizing it and shit. So I just like, I just really want to make clear that I'm so grateful for everybody that I worked with. There were so many fucking beautiful moments where I was like in the kitchen washing dishes, fucking jamming with the clients. And I really just like stepped back and was like, what the fuck is my life? Like, this is so... This is like exactly what I've wanted. It's exactly what I wanted in so many ways. The script and like what I'm saying now, it'll never fully encapsulate. It'll never fully encapsulate how I feel and how much I love what I just did over the past 6 months. So, that's pretty much it. Like, that's what I wanted to get off. So to all the guides, and all the therapists, all the staff, every single one of the fucking clients, everybody that I connected with, I love you. I love you and thank you. Oh my God, wait. Okay. When I was driving up the mountain, leaving, I was connecting these pieces that I spoke about in the script, or in the letter. I was connecting all of them, like I was in the moment, like actively connecting all of them, and I have not sobbed. I had not sobbed that hard for that long in a while. It was a huge moment of release and just like overwhelming pride and delight as I drove away from the place that I worked up the mountain for the final time. It was incredibly beautiful, and that was shortly after the meeting that we last had. So I don't know. I just wanted to share that little bit. But anyways, thank you for watching me cry.